Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we're going to be looking at another one of the hero tanks that's just come on, the original 3 as they're calling them, although we haven't seen them before on the PlayStation 3 as far as I'm aware, and it's the T26E4 Freedom, the Super Pershing. It is exactly the same as the normal Super Pershing, but it's got a very snazzy paint job, and do you know what, I actually do like the paint work on this. When I looked at the pictures in the Tankopedia, I wasn't overly keen, but then when they came out I started seeing a couple in a match, and yeah, I do like the paint job, and I believe, although again I've got no confirmation of this, I believe it still does give you a camouflage bonus across all seasonal sort of maps, you know, your desert, summer, etc. But that's something I would have to check into. Now, let's get equipment out of the way. As you can see there, I've got vents, gun rammer, vertical stabilizer. I am pretty boring when it comes to my equipment selection, so it's a pretty standard setup. If I can put a vertical stabilizer on a tank, I will, rather than a gun laying drive. Whereas the gun laying drive gives you minus 10% to your aiming time, the vertical stabilizer gives you plus 20% accuracy. And the way that that translates is that your aiming circle during movement and during turret rotation is 20% smaller at the beginning before it actually starts, you know, aiming and shrinking down. Now, when you buy this in the mega bundle, I think it is, for 19,000, you get a gun rammer, a vertical stabilizer, and a gun laying drive. Now, it's down to personal preference. I mean, if we go into the tank itself and look at the aiming time, it's 2.29, which I think is around average for tier 8 mediums, 0.37 accuracy, which isn't too bad. Rate of fire 7.32 rounds a minute. Mine's obviously increased because I've got a tank gun rammer and I've got vents on there. It's a pretty standard 90mm gun, 170 penetration and 240 damage. Traverse speed is 32 I've forgotten how to speak English. 32 degrees a second. Turret traverse, it seems a little on the slow slide at 24 degrees. In fact, let me just have a look at some other tier 8 mediums that I've got. An STA1 here. Let's go into that and just have a check. I've not got it fully upgraded yet, as you can see. Oh no, 2.29.37, although I think same rounds of fire. Forgotten to speak English again. Same rate of fire as the Super Pershing at the minute, however fully upgraded it does get a slight increase of 8 rounds a minute, and as you can see there, the 90mm gun, the top one on the STA1, has a whopping penetration of 219 with your standard ammunition and slightly better accuracy. Now, the gun that I've got out in the minute, which is the 90mm rifled, which we'll come back to in a moment because it's also the same gun as on the STA2, the tier 8 premium Japanese tank, has 186mm of penetration with the same aiming time, same accuracy, same rate of fire. But it's not a bad gun. Now, my main gripe with the Super Pershing is its engine. Let's just go and have a look at the normal Pershing. I mean, the Super Pershing has it beyond an armour because it's got all that extra spaced armour welded onto the front. Now, I've not been through the normal American medium tank line yet, but let's go into it. Now, the turret on the Super Pershing is basically the stock turret from the Pershing, the normal bog standard Pershing. However, as you can see there, not the stock gun, because that's an awful 76mm, but the first 90mm gun, which you should have already unlocked. Well, actually, no, you may not have unlocked it. Let's have a look. Do you unlock it on the T20? You do unlock it on the T20, so yeah, you would have that 90mm gun stick straight on. I've unlocked it on the M6, I think it was, or if it wasn't the M6, it was the T29. Now, as you can see, that gun on the normal Pershing has 160mm of penetration, same aiming time, same accuracy, same rate of fire as the Super Pershing, but its traverse speed is slightly better, yeah, and its turret traverse is a hell of a lot better. Fully upgraded, yeah, 38 degrees, a lot better. Now, the fully upgraded Super Pershing has 190 penetration, same accuracy and aiming time, same rate of fire, but it's got 10 more penetration, which can 10 more? my maths has gone out the window as well as my English. 20 more penetration. I do apologise. Than the Super Pershing, and it doesn't seem a lot, but that 20 can make a massive difference. And as you can see there, the engine power is 704 horsepower. The Super Pershing gets a woefully underpowered 500 horsepower engine. Now it claims, and it is a claim, to have a 40 km/h speed limit. On flat level good ground you'll probably get 30 to 35 km/h out of it. You'll probably get 40 coming down a hill. It has 1500 hit points, which, let's just go back to the STA1 again, has 1350. Now bear in mind that's not upgraded, so it may get a few more hit points as I upgrade it. Excuse me. Let's go back and look at some other tier 8 mediums, such as the Centurion 1. No, it won't tell me the hit points in there because, well, I've got the stock Centurion's hit points, which is 1350. I have a feeling that they'll all end up around 1450 to 1500. So look at the Germans. What do they have? They've got the Panther 2, 1200. Well, that's not a lot of hit points, but bear in mind that is stock again. 3002D, 1150. So it does seem to be at the upper end of the hit point scale. T44, 1200. I can't see it getting much more than that. I don't know, that's not a medium tank. Well, that's 1200 on the T54 lightweight, but a lot of people say that that is a better medium tank than the actual T44. I've not played in it yet. I can't wait to get my hands on a lightweight. I'm really looking forward to it. Alright, back to the Freedom. Crew skills, I've gone for repairs. You will spend a lot of your time with your tracks blown off on this thing because people, well, people know where the weak spots are now, but people who haven't seen them before, who possibly new at the game, they've got into the first tier 8 match and seen the first Freedom or Super Pershing, they don't know where the weak spots are. They start to panic when they can't get through your spaced armour at the front, and they will just keep blowing your tracks off. So I would recommend repairs for your first skill. Now, the spaced armour on the front, let's zoom in a little bit. Now, as you can see, it's 102mm, which doesn't sound brilliant, but I think that's about the same as the T29 hull. It is. And, you know, you can bounce a few shots in that. But as you can see there, there's a big gap with your spaced armour, and then just behind it, that second layer of armour isn't the hull, that's actually more spaced armour. Now, when this first came out on the PC, that was a second layer of spaced armour, and then I think it had a massive nerf, and I think that became purely cosmetic. But now I think it's been buffed again, and it may possibly be a second layer of spaced armour. That's something I've been trying to confirm, but the jury's still out on that one. And you've also got spaced armour on the front of your turret as well, which I believe is also 102mm. Then you've got your gun mantle behind it, then you've got the actual turret itself, and it extends round slightly to cover the side of the turret. Now, if you do have to shoot at one of these things from the front and you can't get around it, because that's the best way to do it, because the armour on the sides isn't brilliant. 76 on the turret, and in fact on the rear of the turret as well, 76 on the side of the hull, 51 on the back. So if you do have to shoot at it from the front, even though a lot of the time it will show that you can penetrate that spaced armour on the turret and the front of the hull, most of the time, you know, I'm not going to give you a percentage, but a hell of a lot of the time it will penetrate and do no damage. It will just get eaten up by the spaced armour. So if you do have to shoot at one from the front, see those tubes just above the turret? I think they are to do with, I think they're actually springs to try and counterbalance the extra weight on the gun mantle. They seem to be a weak spot, and of course you've got the two hatches on the top, the commander's hatches and the machine gun hatch. Now, the commander's cupola is the easier to hit, so if you can hit that or those tubes, you should penetrate and do damage. Or if you can get a shot at it, you see just under the side spaced armour on the turret there with the eagle on it. Now, if you look at it from the front, you can actually see the bog standard turret there, the sort of cheeks of the turret. That is a good place if you've got the accuracy and the penetration, because it is quite angled from the front. As you can see, it's not a big target, but if you can hit that, hit it you will more than likely penetrate and do damage there. Sides and rear, shoot it any way you want, apart from that extra armour on the turret. And there you go. That's pretty much all we've got to say about the armour. We've spoken about the gun. You know, it's a decent gun. I do take 10 rounds of APCR, which gives you 258mm of penetration, and there are times, I mean, this thing, it doesn't see tier 10s, and I think that's basically down to the gun, but you will see tier 9s, and I do tend to see tier 9s quite often in it. I don't know if that's just bad luck on my part, but occasionally, because you're not manoeuvrable. It's not, unless you really plan. I mean, this is a tank, and anybody who's been in things like the T28, to some extent the Churchill 7 or the Black Prince, and definitely things like the British AT tank line, AT2, AT8, etc., you really need to have to be able to read the map and see what's happening and where you need to be. If you go the wrong way in this thing at the beginning of the match, it's not as bad as it is in the ATs and the T28. Oh god, what's the other tank destroyer? The T95, I want to say, the American one. I've got to check now because that's going to drive me crazy. Yeah, the T95, T28. It's not as important as it is in them because they are much slower. You can, yeah, you can kind of relocate in this thing, but it is difficult. So you do have to read the map because you're not going to be able to outmaneuver a lot of the other tanks on the battlefield. So I take the APCR for those instances where I can only get shots at the front of heavily armoured tier 9s and I need to punch through them. You know, you can't aim for weak spots or whatever because of the range, etc, etc, or there are some of the tier 9s don't even have very many frontal weak spots. So yeah, I do take a small stock of APCR ammunition. Now, I've also got a few HE rounds. They're not particularly effective, but I always take a few HE rounds for if I have to reset a cap, for instance. And obviously, you know, sometimes you're not guaranteed to penetrate, but if you hit them with HE, you're going to do that small amount of damage, and you will be able to reset the cap. Now, price-wise, the Freedom, it was in the store, and I don't know if it still is actually. Let's have a little check when this video went up. No, it's not. You can get it in the Independence bundle for 13,000. If you want to buy just a bog standard Super Pershing, because basically, well, it's the same thing apart from the paint job, 7,200 gold, which isn't bad when you compare it to the price of some of the other tier 8s. Let's have a look. I mean, I know it's tier 8 heavy, but you can see there the T34, 12,000 gold. Let's have a look at the Russians. And as you can see, IS-6, 11,800 gold. Germans, they've got the Jagdtiger 88 at 10,000 gold. The Löwe at 12,500. The British don't really have anything up there apart from the god-awful AT-15A. The French tanks, the FCM 50T, 11,900. Good tank. I really enjoy that. I've got the Liberté version, as you saw the other day. Chinese, what we got? We've got the 112. And I can't remember how much that one was, and the ridiculously expensive T34-3 for 11,000, which is very expensive for a tier 8 medium. That's sort of heavy tank prices, and by all accounts not a brilliant tank, although I've not tried it out yet, so I can't really pass judgment. And Japanese, you've got the STA-2 at 7,400. Now the STA-2, same rate of fire, same accuracy, same aiming time, slightly more penetration, but basically no armour, but it is a hell of a lot more manoeuvrable. So it really does depend on your tastes, your personal preferences. Do you prefer the lighter, more manoeuvrable, faster mediums, or do you prefer something a bit more heavily armoured? Well, that's pretty much going to dictate whether you'd go for something like the Super Pershing or the STA-2, for instance. Right, so now we've had a look at that. Is there anything else we need to cover? Cruise skills are covered. I think that's about it, really. Yeah, so enough of me jabbering on in the garage. Let's get into a couple of matches, see how this handles, and then you can make up your minds. So here we are, we're on Severogorsk. It's a tier 8 match and it's an assault game mode, and we're on the attacking team. So we've started here on the western side. There's a Liberté in front of me, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, and it probably won't be the last time. I do love the Liberté. It is, in my opinion, a very, very good tank. Although it does play more like a medium. I say it plays more like a medium. I've had a lot of luck. I've had a lot of good games playing it as a heavy, because it generally gets into tier 8 matches, a bit like the Freedom actually in the normal Super Pershing. It does have preferential matchmaking, so it only ever sees tier 9 at the highest, and most of the time you'll be in tier 8 matches. Now, these matches, I'll be the first to say, they are nothing special. They're not bad matches, you know, they're sort of pretty average, yeah, pretty average matches, to be honest. Pretty happy with them, maybe just above average, but it shows you the earning potential of it in most of the matches you're going to have, because, you know, for most of us out there that are sort of average or just above average players, every now and again, or, you know, a few times we'll have, in a week, we'll have, you know, those exceptional matches where you'll get a Radley Walters, or, you know, your Top Guns, etc., your Ace Tankers. But a lot of the time you're going to be having pretty average matches, so this gives you a good idea of what you'll be earning. So anyway, I managed to get a hit on that Tiger 2 over there, and managed to put another one in him. I've had my tracks knocked off by that A43, and there's something else taking shots at me. In fact, there's a couple of things, so I need to get down off that hill where I'm exposed, and get down here into concealment and use some of the cover as well. Right, a few more have popped up. There's an IS-3 over that way. I've got flanking shots at him now. They've got, I don't know where that shot went. IS-3s have got an ammo rack in the side of the turret, both sides I think it is, near the bottom of the turret, but it is hard to penetrate because it's so rounded. And he's turned his gun towards me, and yeah, it's just ricocheting, I think. Now, my personal experience, and, you know, I've looked into this as well, and I think there are other people that sort of share my view on this, that the Super Pershing, and therefore the Freedom, them being the same tank, they do seem to work best at a medium range, where you're close enough that you can still hit them and hit the weak spots if you need to, because your 170mm of penetration can let you down occasionally. More so in your tier 9 matches than in tier 8, but against things like IS-3s from the front, it can hamper you a little. Managed to finish off the A43. So yeah, you work best at a medium range where you can, you know, you can still aim for the weak spots and generally hit them. That's a dodgy shot on that T26E4 now. I didn't think I'd hit that. Oh, KV4 down here. Now you can see here, this is where I'm looking for a weak spot on the front of it, and I just can't get through. I've had my tracks blown off again. So you will spend a lot of your time with your tracks blown off in this, so do get the repair skill. No, aiming for that machine gun turret on top, which is a bit of a weak spot. I take a bounce from something, still can't penetrate, so I switch to APCR, but he's dead anyway. Right, yes, medium range, got sidetracked there. You can still aim for their weak spots, but yours are harder to hit. The cheeks on your turret are harder to hit because it is a small target, and it makes your commander's hatch harder to hit as well. So I find that it does work best at close range. Plus, I mean, with its lack of manoeuvrability, it's not really a dogfighter. Not at all. Things can get around you very, very easily. He didn't last very long. I've got a lot of spotting damage in this match. But yeah, it's not a dogfighter. It does work best at a medium range. And you know, it's not uncommon to block 1500, 2000 damage in this thing if you use it properly. A lot of people, and I do make that mistake every now and again as well, quite often in this, they will sit dead face on to whatever's shooting at them, and you do have a tendency to do that because the side armour is so poor, but you can afford to angle it slightly when you're shooting at things, and it will just increase the effectiveness of that frontal armour slightly. See, I've not really done much myself in this match. I've only, as you can see by the battle ribbons, I've only scored 5 penetrating hits there, but I've got a lot of assisted damage, which I am surprised about. It's not got a massive view range. It's not too bad though. I think it might be about 380 metres. Finish off the artillery, and there's only one of them left. And I can start making my way over there. I'm not going to get there in time because this thing is not quick. I mean, there you can see it claims it's got a 40km/h speed limit. I know my tracks are damaged, but it doesn't affect it too much, and I'm managing to get 26, 27. So yeah, you can see the engine is woefully underpowered. They are the main drawbacks of this tank, is its underpowered engine. And there's another Freedom over there, and we've got the side of his tank, so it's no problem to get through. But yeah, it's the underpowered engine and the lack of manoeuvrability are definitely its major weaknesses. The 170mm penetration isn't too bad, but it can let you down slightly every now and again. There you go, that was an average match. Just shy of 1500 damage myself, 1800 spine damage, which is good, and only 590 blocked, but then again I didn't have much shooting at me. 90,000 credits earned, 5,000 were from an op. Third on the table, which isn't bad. It's not too bad. Like I say, it was a very average round. So I've got another one coming up for you in a minute, and we'll get to that one in just a moment. So here we are on Ghost Town, standard battle this time. Excuse me. And it's another tier 8 match, I think it is. Yep, there we go, another tier 8 match. A couple of Freedoms on either side, Liberté's up there as well. And again, that last match, it was nothing special. Didn't do a lot of damage myself, got, you know, a fair amount of assisted damage, but earned 90,000 credits. You know, that's a good earning potential for this machine. So let's see what we can do in this one. And again, it's nothing special. It's an average match, but again, you'll see the credit earning potential of this thing. And it, you know, it is a tough tank. It really is. If things get too close, and like I say, they can hit those weak spots, the turret cheeks underneath the armour there, and the commander's cupola, which is, well, it's not massive, but it's not exactly small, is it? And those rocket tubes, they're not rocket tubes, the spring tubes on the front of the turret as well. Although I did read somewhere that they were no hit zones, so that's something I'd have to look into actually. I don't know if that was if they nerfed it at some point and then gave it a buff again and made them no hit zones, I don't know. I was watching the Mighty Jingles the other day, and he was on about when the T29 first came in the game, and this has got nothing to do with the Super Pershing, but I found it interesting. When the T29 first came into the game, when it first started, the sort of rangefinder ears on the side of the turret were actually hitboxes, and they got no armour, so when a T29 went hull down, it was completely ineffectual because people just hit the rangefinders and did damage. And it was considered a very poor tank. And then they basically gave it a buff, took the hit zones out of those rangefinders, and it became the amazing tank that it is now. Anyway, got an Indian Panzer up there, pinned in place. Now the rate of fire on this, I've got the tank gun rammer fitted and vents, which has increased the rate of fire, and it's just enough to keep that Indian Panzer pinned. And if you put it through the front drive wheel, you can quite often damage the vehicle as well. And because his turret was just behind the building, he couldn't actually return fire. ARL-44 up there, do a auto-aim clutch shot and managed to put one into him. He ricochets off me on the return. And let's see what else we can find up here. Now, oh, there's that Indian Panzer. So he's backed off, and he's coming around the other way. Try another auto-aim on the move, which I didn't think was going to hit. But it was worth a shot. Stör Emil. Ooh. That wasn't me. I think that was that Rheinmetall Borsig. There's a light tank being chased down by a Type 59. I can't wait till that comes back on sale. Can't wait to get my hands on one of those. Can I put one into the back of the... No. Just one of those games where I'm just too late or not aimed quick enough. Yeah, I can't wait to get a Type 59. I hope they do come back on sale. There's nothing particularly outstanding on the tank, but it all goes together to make a nice package. Right, so work my way through the city. We have a good lead at the minute, 8-3, but I've seen it turn around from a bigger lead. So we'll work our way through the city. I was going to go the other way at one point because some of the tanks on the enemy team weren't accounted for, but then they all popped up on radar. So carry on over this way and see if we can actually get into the fight and do a bit more damage. But that's what I was on about in the garage, where you sort of have to, you know, if you choose the wrong direction. Oh, enemy freedom, it's flanked to us. Should have really gone for the front drive wheel shot first, but I didn't. But it didn't move anyway, and that's him finished off. Yeah, if it's one of those, if you go the wrong way at the beginning, it can cost you a lot of damage and therefore credits and XP. The other enemy freedom, go for the top of the turret, the hatch, and he just moved and hit that spaced armor on the side. We're on a level like Ghost Town, where it's there's a lot of roads and, you know, it's fairly flat. You can get back across it quite easily, so it's not too bad. Hopefully I should be able to do a bit more damage. Oh, we've got it down there, T32. Oh, and I penetrated his turret. I don't think he hit the commander's hatch, so maybe he's stock. Not really paid much attention to T32s to notice the difference between the turrets. That Liberté is still over there. T32 is dealt with. Just the Liberté left. And again, if I'd have come along the south there, straight along the J line, I'd have probably got into a lot more fighting than I did going up the western side. But again, not a bad match. But you really do need to keep an eye on the map. So it's another tier 8 match. Yep, there you go. I do get into tier 9s in this, but not, well, I say not very often. I think in the garage thing I've said that I had, but I think I was a bit jaded then. I think I'd had a day where I got into a lot of tier 9s in this thing. But the gun penetration just let me down quite a bit. But again, you'll kind of see in this one where the choice at the beginning of the match to go a particular way kept me out of a lot of the fight. So I quite often go down that western side if I'm in a tough medium or a heavy. Sometimes come down the eastern road, depends on how the team spreads. But everybody seems to be heading across that side, so I follow this Tiger down here because I can't let him go down on his own in case he runs into quite a few enemy tanks. I'm not saying he couldn't handle himself, but it's always nice to have a bit of backup. So we go down the eastern road, and you can see there's first contact. Those heavies don't seem to be moving much on that northwestern corner though. Oh no, they are moving now. And one of ours, looks like our light tank, has done a sewer scout run down that western road straight into a bunch of enemy tanks and killed himself needlessly. Now, quite often you can see enemy tanks coming round on that corner. You can actually see across there. There's nothing there at the minute, although there's a Sparpanzer or Sparpanzer, depending on how you pronounce it. Tiger 2 looks like he's put a hit into him. And that's another one. And I was going to go around the corner and finish him off, but I thought, do you know what? He's put the first couple of shots into him. I'll be a gentleman and I'll let him finish him off. Then the Sparpanzer decides to try and run away, so I think, well, I'm not that much of a gentleman, and finish him off anyway. Right. So carry on down here a little bit. But again, you can see in these 3 replays that I've put up, I don't really take a lot of damage. I mean, some of them I don't really have much shooting back at me. But at medium range, the armour on this thing is quite good. Well, that was the whole point of it. So we've got a motherland down at the bottom. See if I can get a shot in. Motherlands are tough from the front. So I decide to track him and be a scrub and try and farm some tracking assist damage. Now, motherlands from the front are one of the things that I do have problems with in this vehicle. They are very toughly armoured. I think it's something like 120mm of armour, and it's very, very well angled. And the turret is small, and it's quite rounded on the front. It seems to have a good gun mantle, so it's... I do struggle a bit in this machine against them. Not quite quick enough to get a shot there. I do dilly-dally a little bit with that shot. See if I go into his lower glacis, and I do. And it penetrates, because he's not as angled as he probably would have liked to have been, and down quite close. Put one into him, but his tracks seem to eat it, and he's trying to come and get... I don't know what he's doing. I think he's trying to get round us. Another one into his lower glacis. Tiger 2 hits him, and I think, not today, Sonny Jim, you're not getting round us. And just put one straight into the side of his turret. And carrying around the corner. Now, I wouldn't recommend face hugging in this thing, but if you're against something lower profile that doesn't have brilliant gun elevation, that could probably work out, because it might not be able to get up and get the right angle to actually shoot at your commander's cupola. And there's another motherland up there, and we've got his flank. That was a nice hit. They're a lot easier to get through from the flank. And a Liberté's just popped up and damaged my tracks. Managed to get a parting shot into that Jagdpanther 2. See if we can finish off this motherland. And it goes wide and bounces off his turret. And that Liberté's just taking my tracks off again. And he's starting to do damage. So, put one into the side of him. Angle my tank better. It was a bit silly of me just sitting there like that, but I didn't realise what sort of angle I was at quite. Knocked his tracks off, but he repairs them. Now he's hiding behind that rock, and the Jagdpanther 2 is almost dead. Can I get a shot at him? Now I probably could have finished him off, but I decided to look for that Liberté instead. And when I go back to the Jagdpanther, yeah, somebody else finishes him off. That was probably my own fault, and somebody finished off the Liberté as well. So there you go. Again, not a brilliant round, quite an average round. Excuse me, but still 70,000 credits earned. Well, 65,000, 5,000 from an op. 1,800 experience, 1,800 damage done, 136 assisted, and a little bit blocked as well, and third down on the leaderboard. But as you can see, 3 average rounds, but earned quite a lot of credits from it. So, you let you make your mind up about the Freedom yourself, or the Super Pershing, indeed. Right, well, I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and as always, take care out there. I will catch you next time, and see you later.